What's up, guys? We are back with another review, and we are jumping into a very bittersweet wave of figures. We're taking a look at the William Stout collection of Masters of the Universe movie figures. So stuff that, frankly, no one ever expected to be able to get in this line ever, really, because of a number of reasons, but Super7 worked some magic and was able to get out a handful of figures for what is, at this point, the final wave of Masters of the Universe Classics. And it kind of sucks to have to say that because this line has been going on for so long, and it is a huge part of my toy collection, as you can see back there. But this figure in particular, the Rebel Leader He-Man, or as close to Dolph Lundgren He-Man as we're ever going to get, means a tremendous amount to me because I absolutely love this movie. In the most unironic way possible, I just love it. So this is a big one for me. Of course, this guy comes with a brown mailer box, just like all the other figures, so you've got that. But he also, of course, comes in the standard packaging for the line. And one thing that's kind of weird with this figure is that he seems to be a little tall because his head is unfortunately behind the placard back there. So Mint on card collectors may not be too happy with that. He, however, is coming out. So you've got him there in the window in all his headless glory. You've got his name down there on the bottom with the green Grayskull bricks, and then the back of the package has some stellar artwork as well as a cross-sell with this wave, and then the last Filmation wave, as well as a bio for this version of He-Man. So let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here he is out of the package for, I suppose, the final time. He-Man in the Masters of the Universe Classics line. Of course, this is the Rebel Leader He-Man, as he's called, since this guy is as close to MOTU movie as we're going to get, based on the concept production artwork from William Stout. So this is essentially the figure that I have wanted to get for, I don't know, basically my entire life since the first time I ever saw this movie, however 4 years old maybe I was at the time when I saw this movie. So there is, I have to say it at the outset, there is a tremendous amount of nostalgia fueling this review. I have wanted this figure forever, and to finally have him is something incredibly special, just to finally get this thing, not only because it's rounding out an entire line, but because it's something that I've truly wanted. That said, where I need to be objective, we're going to be objective. He is on a very old style of body. There is no doubt about it. It's a MOTU Classics figure. They have been around since 2008. So there are a lot of things here that definitely don't move maybe how a lot of folks want them to. I do think that we have a pretty stellar action figure here, though, and I would be lying if I said that he wasn't already a contender for top 10 of the year. I am that much in love with this figure, and a couple others in this wave. So let's take a look and see how this guy moves around. He moves around pretty interestingly. There are a few things here that I do like. Of course, it's all very familiar stuff, though. So you've got a ball peg at the head, and he can look up pretty well. He doesn't really look down all that well. He kind of rubber bands back a little bit, and then you've got rotation. Nothing really gets in the way. Arms go out at the shoulder. The shoulder pads will move to get out of the way. You've got rotation. You've got a bicep swivel. You've got a single jointed elbow, of course, and then you've got hinges and rotation at the wrist. We have got a crunch, so he goes forward all the way, and he goes backwards a little bit. You do have a waist twist in there that's hidden pretty well based on how his crotch piece kind of rides up on him. Legs go out, but they do kind of get impeded by the holster and the sheath on either side of him. You are going to have problems kicking forward as well, unless you kind of tilt those legs to the side. They kick backward a little bit as well. Again, there's just more stuff getting in the way. He's got a leathery crotch piece here, and it's just going to stop you. It's just going to hit. You do have thigh rotation up there. You've got a single jointed knee, and there is no boot cut on this guy. There is no shin swivel or anything like that. He does, however, have rockers at the ankle. They do hit the shin guards, though, but rockers are not all that common in this line. So you've got those, and then you've got pretty good hinge movement down there at the ankles as well. So he is, I mean, all things considered, he is pretty standard for a MOTU Classics figure. I don't think I'm missing anything within the confines of the line. Maybe if you compare him to another, Marvel Legends or Black Series or something like that, yeah, you're definitely going to be wanting a little bit, but I think he moves pretty well based on this line. Articulation aside, though, let's just come right out and say it. The big reason that I'm into these figures, well, not just because they're more Masters Classic figures, is because of how they look. This figure in particular, it's because of how it looks. It is, again, a version of He-Man that I have wanted for a very long time. I do love this movie, and I really dig Dolph Lundgren as He-Man. More often than not, if you would ask me what I think of when I think of He-Man, it's going to be this movie. For a number of really stupid reasons, I just love this movie. So there is a lot of nostalgia fueling my interest in how this figure looks, and granted, this is not Dolph Lundgren specifically, it's not exactly his likeness, but I think that based on the confines of how they're able to get this out, I think they did a really good job of translating this look, this type of design, coupled with the kind of the confines of the William Stout production concept artwork. I think it translated into a figure pretty damn well. I'm just a big fan of everything they've got going on. So basically, we have got a slightly larger He-Man figure, and I'll do some comparisons, well, probably to every other He-Man in the line, and this guy is a little bit taller than your average He-Man figure, which is also why he kind of sits funny in the box, because he is taller than normal. He's almost a head taller than your standard He-Man, and I think that they have done just a great job translating this design into plastic. I love the armor, tons of detail on here. The white gold color works really well here, but there's a nice wash in there to bring it all out. Just tons of little kind of greebling detail there, and then on the emblem on the torso, and then on his gauntlet as well, also on the buckle, and then of course on these monstrous shin and knee pads that are covered in the same kind of texture, same kind of sculpt, same kind of wash. He's got very monstrous, I mean, these thighs are humongous. They are really big, and they convey kind of a sense of power, and they add to his height as well. So I think there's some hidden bulk, almost is an easy way for me to say it, in the leg sculpt that they gave him. It makes him look a little bit beefier rather than having any kind of scrawniness going on down below. What's really great about this figure, though, I mean, just outside of the fact that I think they did a really good job kind of translating this, is just the fact that we have a soft goods cape in this line. I'm so glad that this is not a rubbery plastic piece of material. I'm so glad that they decided to do this. Granted, it could be a little better. This isn't bad, but you know, it's a little bit flimsy in places. It also doesn't have the fringe design on the bottom that's in, I'd say, a lot of the artwork. Also, it's on the artwork on the box as well. I'm sure there's a reason why that couldn't be translated into soft goods, but it still looks really good. I also really dig the way it hangs, because this is reminiscent of how it actually hangs on him in the movie, where it's underneath the pauldrons on his armor, and then you've got the holster, or the sheath rather, for his sword. So you've got a clasp up here at the top, and then the bottom down here, so you can actually sheath the whole sword. It's not just sort of dangling haphazardly, and it hangs really well on him. Honestly, I dig the way this sits, and you can easily put his sword in there. I don't think there's a way that you can make him capeless like he is for a tremendous amount of the movie. These seem to be glued into the pauldrons in some fashion. I am not going to be testing that myself, so if you want to go down that road, let me know how that turns out for you. But I think they did a fantastic job here. I don't have any real gripes as far as glossy plastic going on. He definitely does have a little bit of a sheen to him, but frankly, Dolph Lundgren is covered in sweat basically the entire movie, so he's shining pretty much the entire time anyway. So even if it was, I'd probably just give him a pass. But realistically, I don't have any gripes about the aesthetics on this figure. I think they did a bang-up job within the confines of how they had to do this, using only the artwork, using only that production artwork, as well as just using this older style body in many ways to create what is ultimately one of the best He-Man figures I've ever seen. And the head sculpt only adds to that. Again, I probably don't need to say it anymore. This is not Dolph Lundgren specifically. Trust me, I wish it was, but it's not specifically him. It is damn close though, and I think they did a really solid job. This might be one of my favorite head sculpts as far as a human character goes for the entire line. I think they did a fantastic job here. There's some subtle shading on the face to convey kind of like a 5 o'clock shadow. He does have a little bit of a highlight on his cheek as well, and some of that is helping with what would be considered the sheen on the plastic. Lips are really nicely done. Eyes are crisp and straight and forward, and then you've got the very telltale movie mullet that Dolph Lundgren had, and of course is very prevalent, maybe more so in some of this artwork, and the sculpt on that is really good. Bangs are nicely done. It's feathered. It's kind of like wind blowing back. A little bit of a wash in there as well, just to bring out some of that texture and detail. And I mean, yeah, it may not exactly be it, but I think they did a great job of translating what they were using into figure form. That's a fantastic head sculpt. Now, as far as comparisons go, we're kind of going to run through a ton of He-Man figures here. But to start with, just to give you an idea of how they differ as far as size goes, you can see that our movie He-Man is by and large quite a bit bigger than the standard He-Man. Of course, this has the mini comic head on it, but it gives you an idea of how much larger this particular figure is, just in a general sense. I mean, he almost kind of dwarfs our regular He-Man because he just seems to have so much more bulk. But let's not talk anymore. Let's just kind of run through. Here is a parade of He-Man figures next to our new one. Now, as far as accessories goes, He-Man comes with quite a bit of stuff, especially compared to the rest of the wave. He has the most accessories as far as quantity. To start with, you've got an extra head sculpt, so this one is slightly different. It's not too terribly different. He's got a more scowling, furrowed brow look, and it looks pretty good. It gives that very concept art, almost Dolph Lundgren-y look. I think I prefer the regular head sculpt better, just in a general sense. I don't plan on really ever using this. But at the same time, I'm certainly never going to say, no, don't give me an extra head sculpt, because there's plenty of uses for this one. We've got some extra weaponry here as well. So this guy comes with just about everything he could need. And I've said it a million times, I love when figures can store all their stuff on them, and he can store all of his stuff on him. So to start with, you've got a little throwing dagger that actually sheathes into his boot. It's just a silver blade with black and gold handle. Nothing too crazy, really, really small. It does not fit snugly in here, so be careful. You could, like me, potentially end up losing that thing. I sent it flying across the room as soon as I got it in there, not realizing that it didn't fit all that well. So buyer beware on that one. You have got his actual dagger, and it is very reminiscent of the Power Sword. Gold hilt with black handle and then a silver blade as well. And he's got a sheath for it on his right, your left. And then you've got the very, very movie pistol, blaster pistol here, which has a holster for it on his left, your right. It's just done up in black plastic. No paint on this guy, but a very movie design. Definitely something I'm excited to have in this particular line. I just like the idea of He-Man being able to whip out a gun when he needs to, because it's something very, very movie specific. The big thing though is that he comes with his sword, and like I showed previously, he does have a sheath for it, and it is kind of an interesting design, but it works really well. And this thing is, of course, done up with that movie styling, and it looks really, really close. I think they did a great job here. It's not nearly as maybe crazy in design as the cartoon sword is by any means, but it definitely gives off that He-Man vibe, and I'm a big fan of this. I think that it looks really, really good. It's got kind of a white gold hilt and then a black handle with a very, very long silver blade. So this guy, he just comes fully loaded. There's not really anything that he is missing that I wish that they had included here. They gave him just about everything they could have. So is it obvious that I'm a fan of this version of He-Man or this movie? I would imagine that that's come through pretty clear at this point, and hopefully that hasn't kind of skewed my viewpoint too much, but honestly, this is a really damn solid Masters Classics figure. Easily one of the better figures that has been made in a while. I don't really have any true gripes about this one. It has given me pretty much everything I wanted to get out of this version of He-Man without just having a one-to-one likeness for Dolph Lundgren on the top. This is as close as we're ever going to get, and I think they did a great job of translating this design, this style, based on how they had to do it into plastic. This is realistically just about everything I wanted it to be, and that's not just because I love this movie so much. It's because this is the culmination of this entire line, giving us something that frankly was supposed to be an impossibility, and Super7 did a bang-up job with it. Sure, he doesn't move as well as a lot of current figures that you're going to go find at the store, but I'm not buying this figure so he can be flying around my shelf doing karate kicks or anything like that. I bought this because I needed this version of He-Man, and I think Super7 absolutely delivered and then some when it comes to giving me what I wanted. So that's going to do it for this look at the, well, I guess the last He-Man figure in the Masters of the Universe Classics line, Rebel Leader He-Man. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time. Or should I say, good journey.